Hello and welcome to my tutorial. Today's tutorial is going to be on tutorials. So now we're all in lockdown because of the coronavirus. There's a lot of people asking me, how can I do video tutorials? How can I give people advice remotely? And moreover, people are having Zoom meetings and stuff like that. So as part of the tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use the software, some tips on how to set it up, some things that I've picked up, and also how you can then use this for your Zoom presentations. And even if you don't have the ability to share screen, because some people may control that, you would still be able to use this software to have that ability anyway. So first of all, I will show you, whoops, don't need that anymore. So I'll show you my browser. This is the software, it's OBS Studio, it's free, it works on Windows and it works on Mac. And I suppose I'd better show you what the software looks like. So if I just hide my browser, you'll see this is it. Now, obviously it's showing me a picture of my browser, of the software, and I'm streaming at the same time, so you can see this infinite number of windows. So that will be a bit annoying, but you'll have to get over it at first. So I show you the tutorial. It's the only way I can really do it. So first thing you need to do is you can create a profile. I can't click on it because I'm recording, but if you click on profile, you can create a new profile. So that would be the first thing to do. It doesn't take long. Scene collection, then you go to new as well and create a new scene collection. I have created a few different types of scene collections, so it saves my actual setup for the thing I'm doing. Maybe it's a tutorial, maybe it's something else, and have different setups. Once you've done that, the next thing you need to do, you'll find the scene there already. I normally delete it and have a new one. Click this plus button, and you have to give the scene a name. Now I've got a naming convention where I type in capitals, scene, colon, and then I give it a name. And I'll show you the reason for this in a little while. So initially you type scene and then whatever your name is. So I won't do one here, but I'll show you the ones that I've done. So my first one is this, which has got, oh, I can't show you the ones I've done. Well, I can't show you the scenes I've done because it stops recording. Um, how can I do that? Oh no, I'll put one on here. So I'll show you, what I'll do is I'll show you how to do an input. So first of all, I'll show you how to do an input. So once you've created your scene, you come to this side, you click plus, and then you've got a lot of input. So you've got your audio input. So it's very important that you create one of these, or when you're talking, nobody will hear you. It'll just be video only. So in this case, I clicked on it, and I have one existing. So I'll just show you that setup. This is my Jabra headset that you can see me using. But say I wanted to create a new one, I'll just do it. I'll delete it in a second, but I'll show you what comes up. You can see it's default and it's got my options there. So it's pretty simple. You can click on defaults and you can change some other things sometimes. In this case, it doesn't matter, so I'm going to remove that because I don't need it. The next thing you need to do is add another one and add your video capture. So you can add a browser, you can add a color source, which will just be a block of color. You can add a display capture, which will capture your display. I've got two displays. If you've got two displays, it would ask you which one do you want to do. So I've got input display 1 and 2. So I'll show you what they look like. So display 2 is my other input, and display 1 is my horizontal one that you're seeing right now. I'll show you the color as well. You just choose a color and width and height. This is the full width of my screen that I've got at the moment, and this is the height which I want to be short. I'll show you why in a minute. And this one is browser, and in this case what I've done is I've done the input as a window capture, so this one. And on this one it allows you to, if I just do that and I'll show you what it allows you to choose like Word, Outlook, whatever programs you've got open, allows you to say that you'll only show that. So if you've got confidential information, maybe you're in finance or something like that with confidential details, perhaps you don't want to share your browser in case people see something you don't want, in which case you could just choose a particular bit of software, so Microsoft Word or PowerPoint or something like that. So as you can see already, if I had PowerPoint open, I could use that as the source, and then as I was talking, I could make sure I was on my PowerPoint and use that to present. Even if someone didn't allow me the ability to present and share screens, I would be able to use a PowerPoint on my screen. So if I just show you to take it a little bit further, I'll show you the block of white I've added. It's down the bottom, and then I've added an input of text. So I'll show you that, and you can see it's scrolling. So first of all, I'll show you the text. So I choose the font first, and then I choose to put some text in, just type it in. I can choose my color. So at first you might not see these colors. If you click defaults, they'll come up, and then you can choose your color, alignment, and stuff like that. Nothing massively complicated, but you should remember that you see what's happened there is the text has disappeared because I clicked on defaults, which is not something you really want to do too often because it's a bit annoying. Luckily, I've copied and pasted it because I make the mistake a lot. So now I've got my text back. Obviously, I want it to be black as it was before, so I'll just click OK there. Everything else is fine, so I'll click OK. Obviously, that's not the prettiest thing you've ever seen, but it's something anyway. It's a ticker tape comes along. So I did that by creating a text and a white. Now you've got to remember to put them in the right order. So if I put the text down, it's underneath the white now, so you can't see it. If I click these arrows to put it back up again, it's above it. Of course, remembering that you've got your audio input as well, it's an easy one to forget. And you can lock them as well. So once you've locked them, that means you can't accidentally select them. So if I click here and I start dragging around, I can't accidentally do anything. So if I click this one, it's not doing anything, but I don't know why. But locking everything is definitely good advice. I can't really show you my other screens because I haven't got the input on to capture them, but if I try and add it maybe, so do window capture, and then I will do, in fact I'll do device capture, display capture, and I've got that already set up, so I add existing. Right, so you'll see my display capture now, and I've got this overlay, so if I add that above it, you'll now see that it's got this sort of frame around it, and I've put this white bit at the bottom, and I've got this inset. And if I now put the webcam above my display, see the webcam is fitting nicely within that little box. So I've just created this image in Photoshop as a little frame, so that when I'm doing a recording, potentially I could stick myself in the bottom corner in that frame, and I can put some text across here if I want to, or I can just make it look a little neater and a bit more professional. You can see my logos there, stuff like that. I wish I could show you browser, but as soon as I do that, I suspect it's gonna not capture the window. But let's give it a try anyway. So there's the browser. I don't know if you guys can see that. We'll check afterwards. You can do one with the webcam as a full screen, which I've got. I find that really useful. And obviously I have my opening one, which you may find useful as well. So all of those are useful. So the next thing I do, one of the settings I really like to play around with is if I go back to my window capture, I go to settings and I go to hotkeys. Now what I like to do is start recording and stop recording. I have it as control and space. And the reason I don't just have it as space, which is quite common for other recording programs, is because you can press space a lot by accident if you're typing or something like that. And if I'm doing a tutorial, I'm a web developer, I might type something into my code and a space would be common to use, so I use control and space. And I use the same command to stop. I use control and my number keys to change scenes. So if I press control on 1, I'll open this one, control 2, this one, 3, 4, you get the idea. If you want to delete them, you have to hit this trash can button, so don't try pressing delete, as it will make delete the button to switch scene. And you can also do the inputs as well. So that is why I was keen to tell you at the beginning that I have the naming convention of scene opening, scene webcam, blah blah blah, because you might say have a scene where your webcam is the only thing on screen, so you might call your scene webcam. Then you'll have an input as webcam or a source as webcam, so you kind of don't want to get confused. So I name it as input or source and scene, which you can see down the bottom. See down the bottom on the left, I've got my scenes, and then I've got my sources, and I just name them with that naming convention just to make it less confusing. So potentially I could have, if you see on here, I've got quite a lot of sources, and I've got the browser, and I've got the display 2 and display 1, and to be honest with you, they're all on top of each other at the moment. Now I can just hide and unhide them simply by clicking my my eyeball icon, and that gets the ones below it visible instead. but it might be a case that I decide that I want to have these on hotkeys, and in some cases you would. So there are cases where you can use a video, for example. So a media source, right? So you could have a video there. So I could have a hotkey saying, you know, I might do my introduction, hi, I'm Owen, and then press Control and whatever number. Then a video can pop up and do its little bit, and that might be the same for each one. You might have an intro and an outro, stuff like that. So I find that pretty useful, to be honest with you. And oh yeah, let me show you about green screen. So in this particular one, have I done it on here? Yeah, I think I have. No, I've done it here maybe. Right, so if I look on my webcam, in fact, sorry, that's all set up normally. If you right click on anything, you have this filters option. And in this case, for webcam, you come to the bottom here and click plus, and you can click chroma key. Chroma key there. So I've already set it up. So if you have a look at my one, what I've done is I've picked a color, and I have tried to make it as similar as possible to the background of my shed sort of you know, this is my office, but it's kind of a wooden shed sort of structure. So you can see that color there. So I've tried to pick something close to it. I haven't got it exactly right, but what you'll see if I press the icon thing, you will see that it's kind of made most of it black, which means it's selected. So I can adjust it. You know, if I go too far, it will pick up my skin tone as well, and if I don't go far enough, it will show the wall. So I just adjust it slowly, slowly, slowly until I get roughly right. I can adjust the smoothness as well, which will make it worse or better. So often I keep smoothness as naught because I find it hard to adjust that as easily. And if you get really tricky, you can just hit the up and down keys here, and you can hit. You know, you can see that gives you a bit more granular control. So I can see a bit on my face. So knock it down until that goes. That's probably okay for me. So if I close out of it now and I go back to my original so I go to my webcam one, you see that most of it is out. Now, obviously the whiteboard isn't out because it's a totally different color, and some of the door is a bit of a darker color. So I haven't got it perfect. But if you had a green screen and it would be a solid color, that would be a lot easier for you. You can see it's sort of taking out some of the color in my face as well. But I do have a green screen. It's not there at the moment because I'm ironing it, to be honest with you. But if you have it, it makes it a lot easier. So that's how you would do a green screen. Because it looks a bit silly at the moment, I'm just going to switch it off and then go back to normal, because rather than having mistakes, it looks a little bit better just to have the original background. So that's about it. I hope that's taught you enough to show you how you can do a tutorial, how you can have an inset so you can show your browser and everything like that. There's one last thing I'm going to show you, which is how you would use this with a Zoom channel. So what I would do is I would go to this, which is OBS, and then you're looking for OBS Virtual Cam. So this is 2.0.4, and then you go to download and you'll find a GitHub link with, oh, you can download it directly. There's also a GitHub link where you could download it. Once you've done that and installed it, it will give you this other option. And the other option will be when you go to Tools, if I go back to here, when you go to Tools, you will have Virtual Cam. And when you click on that, you will see some options. You can have auto start, which will mean when you start OBS, it turns on the virtual cam, which is kind of useful for some people. You can have horizontal flip, so definitely test this before you go ahead, because sometimes your images will be back to front. So if you're doing a presentation, for example, it might be back to front. So you want to make sure that it's the right way around when people are viewing it. And if it's not, then you do the horizontal flip. Once you've done that, I will stop this in fact, I'll start it again, and I will show you Zoom. If I start Zoom, and then I just do a new meeting, and then it's connecting. Okay, so now if I show you display 1, I am showing you. So I go to my Zoom meeting. Hopefully it still shows you. Oh god, this is not good. What I can do is choose my OBS camera there. Now obviously it's gone a bit crazy at this exact moment. Perhaps if I move my... no, that's not helping. It's going a bit crazy at the moment, and that's because I'm recording and it's just doing infinite versions of it. But that would be how to use it. So you just need to make sure that instead of using your normal webcam, you choose the OBS camera. You could choose 4 different cameras with the virtual cam. I haven't actually found any use for that so far. I just used the normal one, but hopefully that shows you how to use it. Once you're using that, I'll end the meeting for that because it's a bit annoying. Once you're using the virtual camera, obviously you've got to make sure it's started. I don't have auto start turned on, so I have to start it manually. So in my case, I would go to where am I going to? Oh, I'm going to. I think. Oh no, I've put it in the wrong other window. In my case, I would go to Tools and then Virtual Cam, and then I can just start it. So I'll stop it for now because I don't need it. So it would be Tools, Virtual Cam, and I just hit Start. Once you've done that, you have the ability to use your hotkeys that we showed you how to set up earlier. So kind of cool that you would have your presenting. You could be talking away, doing what you want, and you can just hit like Control 1, Control 2, Control 3, and then you can hit your presentation. So if you had a PowerPoint on one, you could suddenly activate that. If you wanted to show the browser on another bit, you could activate that. If you then wanted to show a Word document, you could have that. I personally would put them all on different scenes and just make it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the order you want to use them, because it's just a lot easier to remember. And I normally try and have an end scene as well. Sometimes it's the same as the beginning, so I might just go like that. But that's how you use that for Zoom. So I think it's really, really useful. It takes the problem away where you might have to ask for request access to share a screen. If someone else is already sharing a screen, they may have it turned off in some cases to keep control of the meeting, and that's fine. But you can get around this by using OBS to have your scene set up and make your own presentation or however you want to do it without having to bother the presenter. If they're not very technical or they're new to the software, as a lot of people are during this lockdown, it's kind of useful to be able to take control of that yourself and not ask for someone else's help who might just say, oh, I don't know how to do that, and you can do it yourself. So I hope this helped. If you do like the tutorial, please follow us on YouTube, subscribe to our channel and our other social channels. Please leave us a comment if there's anything you want to know or I didn't cover, or anything you'd like me to do in a future video, let me know. And I hope this helps a few people who are on lockdown and want to know how they can present whilst on something like a Zoom conference without actually having to ask the presenter for permission, sort of thing. You might still want to be polite and ask for permission, but in this case, the main takeaway here is to set up your OBS, test it. In this case, I'm recording. You can also stream, so you might want to stream to YouTube or something. But also make sure you select OBS Virtual Camera. Make sure first of all you turn it on, so that the what am I doing? First of all, turn it on so the virtual camera is started, and second of all, select the camera as your webcam. So in this case, I've got my webcam feeding into OBS, and then OBS feeding into the Zoom or whatever I'm using, and that is acting like the webcam. Hope that helps. Thanks for listening. Sorry if I waffled a bit. And yeah, please do comment and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.